This is The Scoop for Wednesday.
I'm Josh Holton with the WMNF News headlines. Arguing that state and local officials have created a broken and arbitrary system, plaintiffs are trying to fend off an attempt to end a lawsuit that challenges the way a 2018 constitutional amendment aimed at restoring felons' voting rights has been carried out. Attorneys for the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition and 4 individual plaintiffs last week filed a court document opposing a request by Governor Ron DeSantis' administration, county clerks of court, and election supervisors to dismiss the lawsuit. The 2018 constitutional amendment, known as Amendment 4, was designed to restore voting rights for felons who have completed their sentences, but the plaintiffs allege that the way state and local officials have carried it out violated the U.S. Constitution and the Federal Voting Rights Act. The case focuses on part of the law that the legislature passed in 2019. The law requires felons to pay legal financial obligations, fees, fines, and other court costs associated with their convictions before they can be eligible to vote. Summer this year was one of the hottest on record in the Tampa Bay area. WMNF's Chris Young reports on how shorebirds in Tampa Bay dealt with heat and other environmental factors.
The black skimmer is one of many shorebirds in the Tampa Bay area. Shorebirds feed along the shoreline. They typically have longer legs and bills and forage by running along the shoreline and probing in the sand. But due to recent extreme heat, they're facing more of a threat. Audrey DeRose Wilson is the director of bird conservation for Audubon, Florida.
In the heat, the birds need to get down to the shoreline to cool off, and this makes them more vulnerable to being disturbed by people.
Other factors, such as high tide and summer storms, drenched beaches and overwash in Pinellas County, wiping out many snowy plover, least tern, black skimmer, and Wilson's plover nests. DeRose Wilson says Audubon, Florida has petitioned for protections for the Wilson's plover.
We've requested that the state review the Wilson's plover for listing and potentially add it to the list of state-listed species.
You can read the full report on Florida's shorebird nesting season on Audubon, Florida's website, fl.audubon.org. For WMNF News, I'm Chris Young.
For the second month in a row, private insurers have taken more than 90,000 policies from the state's Citizens Property Insurance Corp. 7 carriers last week assumed a total of 92,000 policies as part of an effort to reduce the number of homes insured by Citizens. Citizens had 1.2 million policies as of Friday, the lowest total since April. A new study by researchers at the University of South Florida reveals that most U.S. homeowners remain unprotected against possible floods. But as WUSS Joao Victor Pina tells us, more than 70% of those polled mistakenly believed they had flood insurance.
The USF St. Petersburg Customer Experience Lab survey asked over 1,500 American homeowners in 18 states about their perceptions of flood threats. Almost 3/4 of them believe that their primary residence's insurance covered flooding, but less than 5% of homeowners have flood insurance. Until recently, the National Flood Insurance Program was the only provider for homeowners for over 5 decades. The study also found that nearly 2/3 of respondents believe their flood risk has increased in recent years. Just 8% think it has declined. I'm João Victor Pina in Tampa.
Democratic Representative Angie Nixon from Jacksonville has drawn a primary election challenge as she runs for another term in 2024. Democrat Brenda Priestley Jackson, a former member of the Jacksonville City Council and Duval County School Board, opened a campaign account this week to run against Nixon in Duval's House District 13. Nixon was first elected to the House in 2020 and was joined earlier by Orlando area Representative Ana Escamani in sponsoring a resolution in favor of a ceasefire in Gaza that ultimately failed to gain any support, with all other members of the Florida State House voting against it. During that discussion, Nixon said, quote, "We are at 10,000 dead Palestinians. How many will be enough? One of my colleagues just said, all of them. Wow. One of my colleagues said, all of them," unquote. For the weather, it is cool and fair in the Tampa Bay area. Highs today in the upper 60s, overnight lows in the mid 40s. Tomorrow will be mild and partly cloudy with highs in the mid 70s. I'm Josh Holton with the WMNF News headlines on 88.5 FM and the WMNF app.
This is The Scoop, recorded at WMNF Tampa.